This is City Paper Live, Pittsburgh City Paper's weekly talk show, where we bring you behind-the-scenes stories from our weekly and online coverage, featuring City Paper writers, friends, and guests. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
So Lynn Cullen fans will recognize Ryan from his Wednesday appearances.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wednesday,
Yeah.
when you were on Lynn's show, you were talking about the protests that were coming for
Yeah,
Trump.
Trump Day.
Yeah. So
Trump Day on Hump Day.
Oh God. So on Lynn's show, you were talking about how everyone warned people to stay out of town.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be huge crowds of protesters, and the Trump visit was open to the public the night before.
Yeah, and like they shut down a bunch of roads,
Yeah,
and so like the city and the police department and everybody was they held a press conference on Monday. They kind of told everybody what to expect. We wrote something, everybody wrote something, TV News covered it, and basically like the message was traffic's going to be really bad, so stay out of town. Last time Trump was in town, last time Trump was at the convention center downtown, there was a ton of traffic, especially in the evening commute. It was pretty bad, and I think so the police just didn't want to see a repeat of that, so they kind of told everybody like work from home if you can, and I think like hundreds of thousands of people did.
We let most of the people on our staff work from home on Wednesday
Yeah.
too. You and I were here,
Yeah.
and on Lynn's show, I believe your quote was that people hate traffic in Pittsburgh more than they like or hate Trump.
Yeah.
To show up.
And I think even the people, if you look at the demographics of who supports Trump in Pittsburgh, it's
suburbaners.
yes, you
Suburban
have
people who drive into town.
Yeah, or even exurban, like right on the edge of the county, mostly like edge of Allegheny County into Beaver County, Washington County, Butler County. That's where more of Trump's support is. And then obviously there's a lot less support in the city of Pittsburgh itself. And then as you get closer with other suburbs, it's kind of like in between. And so I was joking that I'm one, like I know that people who live out in the far-reaching suburbs, like 30 minutes, outside of Pittsburgh, they hate traffic, like probably more than they hate everything, even though they chose to commute every day, whatever.
So anyway, you were right.
Yes.
Downtown was dead. It was the best walk I've ever had in my life to work.
Yeah.
Peaceful, quiet. Streets were still empty. I think you tweeted out at noon.
Yeah, I walked out at noon, which is normally like insane. Everybody's going to get lunch and stuff like that, and it's super crowded. There was no one.
Yeah, so it was great.
Yeah, and then also like there wasn't that many, not that many Trump supporters came to the event and showed up. They had like a kind of a pen behind the media where the public was allowed to like watch the president talk, and it didn't fill up at all. And like it probably could have held like maybe like 2,000-3,000 people, and there maybe was 1,000. I think probably less, honestly.
So we did cover the event. Our photo intern Joey Nouse was at the morning protest, the peaceful one by Ben the Ark.
Yeah,
and where a few people were arrested.
Jewish organization, progressive Jewish organization that advocates pro-immigrant stuff. They denounce white nationalism. We've covered them in the past a bunch, actually. Whether they're doing anti-ICE, which is the immigration enforcement protest, or their involvement with the post-Tree of Life march through Squirrel Hill.
So there were some arrests. Can you tell us why? We put up a story about this with some photos.
Yeah. So like I said, the Ben the Ark Progressive Jewish Group was downtown Gateway T Stop doing a protest, and they were there to they were opposed to Trump's visit. They want Trump, they have wanted Trump to denounce white nationalism, as in the ties that his rhetoric has with the alleged Tree of Life shooter, Robert Bowers, who also has a lot of rhetoric around white nationalism and anti-Semitism. And so they were there to protest that. They ended up, during their protest, going on a little march, and they ended up entering the streets and locking hands. And the police
they sat down.
And then they sat down. And normally that doesn't usually lead to arrests in Pittsburgh. They kind of had an agreement that the protesters have worked out with the police that this is just part of the protest, part of their First Amendment rights. This time was different because I think the police kind of said beforehand. They said, we're going to arrest people who get in the streets because we're very concerned about traffic. Whether or not that's okay is up for interpretation, but that's what happened.
So these protesters knew that they were going to get arrested if they did that.
I think so.
Why would they still do that?
Why would they? Well, to boost their message of denouncing white nationalism, and it makes a stronger message, basically.
I know that at least one folks from Ben the Ark tweeted out that they were really unhappy with the coverage that TV News gave the protest.
I didn't read any of that. I don't know. When you tell me about what do you know what they were upset about? I know that they had tagged us and said that they appreciated our coverage, which was nice, but
they didn't. I think it was like focusing on people blocking the streets without
context.
Right, without spreading what their message
what
was.
Actually they were protesting.
Like they knew
what's
they
the
were
point? It's
be
not
arrested,
like that. We hate intersections.
So there were protests throughout that day. Jared Wickerham, our photographer, we have some photos up of that.
Yes.
Well.
What about me?
Ryan. I made Ryan go to cover Trump.
Yeah.
He showed up early. He got the credentials.
Got credentialed.
Got in.
Yeah.
Tweeted some stuff.
Yeah.
Came back to the office.
To do work.
Worked for a few hours.
Yeah.
Went back to the convention center.
And they locked me out.
And he wasn't allowed back in. He came back to the office, and I was pissed.
Yeah, luckily we had a photographer proxy there to document everything, and then we were able to report from the live stream.
So Ryan and I were in the office, the very quiet, empty office, watching Trump's speech on live stream. It was
funny because nothing really went down out of the ordinary. There was a protester in the speech who was in the public crowd who was denouncing Trump's white nationalism, basically, and he spoke up and interrupted Trump, and then he got escorted out peacefully and politely. And that was pretty much it. And Trump's speech was, I don't know. I've watched enough Trump speeches. He seemed a little less energetic this time. He seemed a little like this because, it's pretty clear that they wanted more people to show up because it was originally just going to be the fracking conference crowd, which was probably only going to be like a couple hundred people. And knowing Trump, he wants to have more of a crowd that can chant and, clap and all that stuff. And I think what hurt his potential crowd numbers was, one, they announced it was open to the public I don't know, I think
the night before.
Yeah, basically less than a day before, and then also the combination that anybody who wanted to go in to see him had to basically think about how they wanted to deal with the potential traffic that was warned about. Super interestingly and funnily, again, there was no traffic because everybody was so scared there was going to be traffic. Everyone stayed home, and there was absolutely no traffic. It was a ghost town.
So one of the things that I asked Ryan to do during it was to fact check the statements about fracking, and our digital media guy, Josh Oswald, who normally produces the show, he's not here. He's covering the exciting Jurassic Park themed event at PPG Paint. So look for that story online later. Our managing editor, Alex Gordon, is behind the scenes today producing the show. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, there it is.
That's Alex's
That's his hand.
brilliant
That's really
hands.
his hand, believe me.
But Josh came up with frack checking, which is my favorite thing that's been getting me through this week. So Ryan frack checked Trump's speech, but the sad thing was that for Trump speaking at a natural gas convention, he didn't actually talk much about fracking.
No, not a lot. A little bit. He talked about the growth in the industry, which there has been some growth, especially in the Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia region. There's been less growth in other parts of the country, or even decline in other parts of the country. But here in our region, there has been growth in that industry. He talked about that. He talked about, then he made some dubious claims about Representative Conor Lamb and his association with fracking, claiming that Lamb wasn't an ally of fracking when he very clearly is.
My favorite
whether
part.
or not that's good or bad, again, from maybe City Paper's point of view, but Conor Lamb is a clear ally of fracking, so much so that the Marcellus Shale Coalition, which is the big fracking organization in the region, tweeted support of him less than a week ago. and he subtweeted that after Trump was insulting him. He also lied about Conor Lamb's record of never supporting Republicans, which is something City Paper has covered a lot.
Conor Lamb
has supported Republican bills a lot.
His subtweet said, "Thanks for helping to spread the word, Marcellus Gas. Heard you have a special guest at the Shale Insight Conference today. Hope things are going well."
Yeah, a little. That's probably one of his better tweets, honestly. Mostly it's like, hey, check out this football team, or hey, I'm at this veterans event.
I'm gonna lamb check that.
Yeah, lamb check. He didn't bust out his Lamb the Sham nickname. I was pretty disappointed, to be perfectly honest.
Well, my favorite part of Trump's talking about Lamb was he's like, I don't even know what this guy looks like.
Yeah, he's very handsome.
Ryan. Who cares about how he supports fracking?
Yeah,
take a look at him.
Get a nice picture of him now. I mean, that's actually much more important, his fracking support. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed he didn't bust out the Lamb the Sham nickname, which he had used in the past, which again just shows I don't even know who this guy is. He's like, I don't know who this guy looks like. It's like, you called him Lamb the Sham just like a year ago, you moron. And so, which is honestly, I think, one of his better nicknames. Lion Jeb is probably my favorite. Or no, Low Energy Jeb. Yeah, Lion Ted.
What's your favorite nickname of yours?
Of me?
Yeah.
I don't like most of my nicknames.
Well, let's. You have some of them on your
Twitter
people.
Feed. Oh yeah, Jabroni Pissant. Yeah.
who called you that?
Mark Madden.
Ah, what an honor.
Yeah, I know.
Liberal hero hack.
Yeah. Hackety hack. Yeah.
Hackety hack.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. We should have a hackety hack check.
Yeah, we should. Yeah. Hack check.
Look for that later on
citypaper.com. We have 3 hacks in a row.
So let's take a break quick from the Trump stuff.
Yeah.
What'd you do in Pittsburgh last night?
I went to Tina's. After the Halloween parade.
Yes, you went to the Halloween parade. That's what you tweeted about. Well, but let's talk about Tina's. What did you have to drink?
They had special Halloween drinks there, and there was a liquor that was made of fermented bananas. It was amazing. Yeah, it was like this cream banana.
Was
something.
It like White Russian with banana liquor?
No,
I had that before, and that's delicious.
Yeah, it wasn't. I thought it was gonna be like a milk-based, cream-based drink, but it wasn't. It was like cognac. This I guess like banana schnapps kind of, but and then a little sweet vermouth. It was delicious. They have really good cocktails there.
But yeah, the Bloomfield Halloween parade is huge.
Yeah, big Bloomfield Halloween parade. I was able to bike. I live in Bloomfield, so I was able to bike through before it started and wave at all the kids. And I watched the beginning of the thing with they had the bagpipes, and they had drum lines. And I know the mayor was there, and a bunch of representatives were there.
Yeah, tell us about what the mayor was dressed up as. He tweeted
it was Steve Azuzu, right? From the Alex, what's that movie called?
Life Aquatic.
Yeah, Life Aquatic. That's right. Zizu, as I said perfectly. Yeah, he had a pretty good costume, I thought.
Just like a red beanie.
Yeah. With a bunch of people, blue shirt.
No, he's got the blue shirt though too, and the pants.
So
he's already got the beard. So
my very first experience with the Bloomfield Halloween parade was right after I graduated college. My very first apartment was on Liberty Avenue in Bloomfield, at the corner of Millvale and Liberty, across from West Bend Hospital.
Super close.
There used to be a really tiny beer and shot bar called the West Penn Tavern. My apartment was right above the tavern, so late at night I could hear the bass of the hip hop below me, and it was awesome. I was a night owl, so it was great.
Where was that? What's at that bar now? Is it that BJ's hot dog burger shop?
No, that's right at the corner. It's the second one in.
Oh, okay, all right. Nothing. There's nothing there right now.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. I think it got replaced.
But I remember I didn't know that there was a Bloomfield Halloween parade. I was taking the bus home from work downtown. This was in the days when I was really big into Marilyn Manson and wearing all black and my wallet chain.
Goth. You were a goth girl.
Lots and lots and lots of thick eyeliner. And I was on the bus on the way home, and 2 guys came up to me and said, "Are you dressed up for Halloween, or is this your normal look?" I said, "This is how I look." They invited me.
Did you say in that spooky voice too?
Oh, probably. I was so shy. I was traumatic if anyone talked to me, and these were really cool punk rock little boys.
Cool punk boys.
Yeah, and I was too shy, and they invited me to a Halloween party, and I ran to my apartment and closed the door and watched the parade from outside my window.
Nice, like a little cat. I saw a person biking. I rode my bike home through the Halloween parade, and I also saw another person biking in their costume, and they were like a toilet paper dispenser. It was awesome. It's a really good costume. But I was also like, she had to like bike up the hill. And I'm like, oh man, that's going to be really hard in that costume because it's already hard enough getting up Liberty on a bike. But so good.
See, when you started to say bike Halloween costume, I thought maybe it would like the bike would be part of it. Like maybe
no. Just the Halloween costume, and the method in which this person chose to go there was via bike, which is a good method because parking is a nightmare. I actually had to pick up my girlfriend at work, and I had to go all the way around, and like it caused a lot of traffic. Baum Boulevard is just a nightmare when there's ever any cars on it. It's just the worst.
So if Trump ever comes to visit on Baum Boulevard, stay home.
That would be weird if he came to the East End. I could never imagine that.
Where do you think he would come if he did?
Oh, I'm just trying to, I guess, like the Hunt Armory, I guess. But I mean, like, he's like going into the belly of the beast if he does that. Like, he's going directly to where the people, hate him the most.
The Hunt Armory in Shadyside.
Yeah.
You know, that used to be my polling place when I lived over in Shadyside.
Okay.
So
God, you lived everywhere.
I did. I was a very... Yeah. I went where the cheap apartments were.
I see. God, and Shadyside used to have cheap... I guess they used to have cheap apartments. Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were talking yesterday about weird polling places.
Yeah.
Our writer Hannah Lynn might put something up next week before the election. Our election guide comes out next Wednesday. We were discussing some story ideas, and she was talking about some of the weirdest. Did you get any sleep last night?
I did get a lot of sleep. Actually, that's why I was a little late because I got too much sleep.
That Tina's banana liquor makes you sleep like a baby.
I woke up really early yesterday. I was supposed to meet somebody, and then they canceled. But I just ended up coming to work at like 8 a.m. So.
Yeah, you're still behind on turning in your election stories.
So much work I'd have to do.
Anyway, so
I'm not behind. We got 2 in already.
Yesterday, Ryan said, "Lisa, our deadlines used to be Monday. You should be happy." I said, "Are your stories all coming in today?" And he's like, "No."
I've got a lot of them in now.
All right. So anyway, Hannah's going to do a story on some of the weirder polling places in Pittsburgh. My polling place is in, I'm not sure I think it's an apartment building for older folks.
Senior home?
I think that's what it is. Every time I come in to vote, it smells like somebody's been cooking, and it smells delicious.
Nice.
Enticing. I love the volunteers. The volunteers at the polls are the same every time.
Poll volunteers are pretty good.
They're older. They're very sweet. They open the door. We got stickers for the first time last year, which was very, very exciting.
You have to basically request because the county doesn't pay for the stickers. The county pays. If you're a polling volunteer, you get $100. I think they might have raised it. It might be even like 110 at this point. You have to work all day though.
And it's a really, really, really long day.
Yeah, because polling places open at 7, I believe, usually, and they close.
You better Deto check that.
Yeah, and they close at 8. So it's,
but then they have to stay after that too
day.
To make sure
to collect everything and submit everything, and so.
So if you don't get a voting sticker, it's not because the government forgot about you.
No, it's because your own polling volunteers are buying those stickers.
And that's
so
why
thank them.
And that's why they look different.
And yes, and that's why they're different. That's why sometimes they're the little ones, sometimes they're the circle ones, or the oval ones, sometimes or whatever. But yes, it's totally up to your polling volunteer to if they want to bring stickers, and that's how you get a sticker. But you'll always get your little voted receipt stub.
Yeah, the
thing.
little stub. Very, very popular to Instagram those.
Yeah, even though they're really ugly and they're not cool. I know, like
but
it's sticker.
Very exciting. It's cool to say you voted.
Yeah, so that's all our polling location. We have a lot of polling locations.
What was one Hannah mentioned?
Well, she said the one that I vote in, actually, which is the car dealership, the Rorick Honda car dealership. They have a showroom, and they clear out the cars for voting, basically. And there's 2 wards that vote in there, actually. So it's cool. And I think Hannah might vote in West Penn. There's like a room in West Penn. So a lot of these things are just hospital. Hospital. A lot of these places are just, they're usually in private establishments. I mean, I think some of them in the suburban areas are in the municipal buildings and stuff like that.
But this is something I never thought of, but does the government rent them? Like, Do these buildings get paid
I would
money
assume.
for them?
I would assume so.
We should find that out. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, Hannah can do it if she's doing the thing.
Hannah, are you watching? I saw her walk past.
Yeah, so, yes, it's not, which is actually good because Pennsylvania, or at least in more urban areas, we don't really have that long of lines. Even in presidential polls, years, I remember the line for my polling place in 2016, in November 2016, and it's kind of long, but it wasn't like you didn't have to wait hours. And some of these Texas polling places, they only have so many, and they're all suburban, so everyone has to drive, and then you have to have a lot of parking and all this other stuff. And people have to wait 3 hours, which is absurd. That's so undemocratic.
And I see, like, whenever the polls close at 8, some places across the country will say, if you're in line to vote, your vote will be counted.
If you're in line to vote before 8, you are allowed to vote.
And that's always been like something that's foreign to me because I've never seen a line ever in Pittsburgh.
Because there's so many polling places.
Yeah,
we have so many. Hannah and I do not live that far away from each other, and she goes to a different polling place than I do. That's how many there are. There are so many, and that's good. It's just sometimes it's hard to get volunteers because you need so many volunteers. That's why the county is always like, please volunteer. But you have to like not have a job because, again, we have our election days on work weekdays, which are just so stupid. And
do you think it should be a holiday?
Yes, absolutely. We should do everything we can to get more people to vote. Even in presidential elections, we're still usually only at around 65, maybe 70% turnout.
See,
Hello, we should be at 100.
But even 65 sounds pretty high to me.
Yeah, well, it is in comparison because if you're doing, they're like probably turnout for this election coming up, it's probably going to be around 20%, maybe 25.
So tell us why people should show up this time in Pittsburgh.
Well, you should always show up, but
of course, we vote every time.
We have very competitive elections, and there's going to be.
What are some of the hottest?
Well, the DA race is the most important, and the most competitive, and the most. Important in the way that the candidates are different, very different.
And the candidates are?
The candidates are the current DA incumbent, Stephen Zappala. He's a Democrat. He also cross-filed as a Republican, and I would argue that he's been running as a Republican with a lot of his pushes in terms of increased security, things that are normally more of kind of that tough-on-crime thing, but he does have some reforms that are thing, but he hasn't really followed through on a lot of those reforms. So, and then his opponent is Lisa Middleman, who is running as an independent, and she is more of the criminal justice reform campaign in terms of ending cash bail, in terms of using a lot of discretion in how she prosecutes crimes. Basically, the goal of certain campaigns, of these kind of campaigns, is to push back on the problems we have in our criminal justice system. The Allegheny County Jail is overcrowded constantly. Our prison systems are massive. We have the highest in the world inmate population percentage by far. It's not even close. We have the most criminalized country in the world.
Have Zappala and Middleman been addressing this issue in their
Middleman has been very much addressing this issue. Her whole platform is almost her whole platform is on totally upending the status quo and this system to attempt to get to get our criminal justice system to be more fair, to ensure that it's not as punitive. And Zappala has also addressed some of these things, but at the same time, he still practices a lot of the things that lead to that punitive nature. He's just 2 years ago, he said we should do mandatory minimum sentences to discourage crime. That has been, in many states, including our own, that has been proven to be ineffective in discouraging crime and has actually just increased the prison population. And this is all money we have to pay. It costs a ton of money to jail people and to imprison people. It's so much money.
So Middleman's campaign yesterday got an interesting donation.
Oh yeah, Summer Lee's Unite PAC, which we've written about before. Summer Lee is a state representative in the Swissvale, Braddock, Homestead area, and she beat an incumbent Democrat last year. She's extremely progressive. She's very unapologetic, which I find refreshing. I think a lot of people do. And she started a PAC that we wrote about this year. A political action committee that basically raises money for candidates like herself, like people who want to, butt up against the status quo. Usually, progressives who want to, so from the left. They announced yesterday that they raised $20,000 for Lisa Middleman, which is which is a significant amount, and we're probably going to be seeing some TV ads coming up for both of the candidates. Zapala, who also has a lot of money and the backing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I'm curious, like a donation like that comes in a few weeks before the end of the campaign. I'm curious where the money goes.
TV.
Like, you think it'll be TV?
Yeah. That's the when it's that. So because both campaigns have already been out there canvassing, they've I haven't seen any mailers yet, but maybe I have. Have you guys seen any Lisa Middleman mailers?
I've gotten at least 3 about the Parks Initiative.
Yeah, I've gotten a ton about the Parks Initiative.
I haven't gotten any of that. I got one yesterday about something else that I can't remember.
I haven't gotten any. I've gotten mostly about the parks, but we live in the city of Pittsburgh, so if you live in the city of Pittsburgh, you're probably going to get Parks Initiative votes. Stay tuned for our coverage on that. But
you're right. You got something in your mouth?
Yeah, I had a little something in my tongue.
Probably my hair.
Yeah.
Floating around the room. Not that Ryan's chewing on my hair. My hair ends up everywhere.
Yeah, but the election, So the DA race is probably the most competitive. That's definitely had the most coverage so far. You can just Google Lisa Middleman or Steven Zapala, and a ton of stories will come up from us, from Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, from TV News.
So next week for our election guide, Ryan's really well known and does a really great job with our comparison charts, and we'll have one as Zapala and Middleman.
Definitely.
So look for that and some other races. We're having some city council.
Yep, we have some city council candidates.
What do you think is the most heated one for that?
That's a good question. Probably District 9, which we'll also be including, but it's an interesting race with District 9 because just like always with District 9, there are many candidates. It's not a one-on-one. So you have the incumbent Democrat, Councilman Ricky Burgess, and versus Randall Taylor, who's a housing activist, and he's been involved in the Penn Plaza protests and all these things, and he used to be a school board member. He's probably the second biggest name. He's got the backing of the Democratic Socialists of America. And then you have 2 other independent candidates. One, Denise Welch, who is also pretty well known in the community and has a pretty interesting campaign. And then you have Barbara, I'm blanking on the name, which is really bad because I'm doing the chart later.
He hasn't turned that in one yet.
Yeah, sorry. But basically you have multiple candidates, and usually what happens is that there's usually enough Democrats who just kind of pick the Democrat straight ticket vote, and then any of the other opposition, if it's split between the 3 candidates, makes it really hard to take out an incumbent. You kind of need a one-on-one matchup, and usually that's when these things go down in the Democratic primary. If you get a one-on-one, that's how Summer Lee won. That's how Sarah Namarado won. That's how Bethany Hallam won.
It's Barbara Daniels.
Barbara Daniels, yes. I knew it was. I almost said Williams, but I knew it was like.
Got Denise Welch. That's good.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And fun fact, I heard this week that is actually superstar Pittsburgh musician Benji's mother.
I believe so.
We gotta fact check.
So there's
that,
a connection there.
Yeah, interesting.
Probably not going to put that in my chart.
Yeah,
though.
no. It's just a
special
fun fact for our listeners because we're big fans of Benji. We have photos.
Big fans of Benji.
He just came back. He's on a big tour across the country, and he just came back for a Pittsburgh home show at Spirit. We have photos up of that.
So we have some city council races that are kind of interesting. District 1, your district, Lisa, has also a competitive race with Bobby Wilson, who unseated the incumbent Darlene Harris in the primary, which was huge in the primary. I don't think many people. I didn't expect it. I
don't think my neighborhood did either.
Yeah.
They were in shock. You should have seen the Facebook neighborhood page.
Don't go on that.
It gives me much anxiety.
Chris Rosalit is running against Bobby Wilson. He's also an independent, so there's lots of independents. So if you're interested in voting for an independent, do your research, and don't vote straight party ticket. Basically,
I'll be honest. I do straight party ticket a lot. I like the option.
Yeah.
Because
Might be going away.
Because we've only been a two-party system for so long, and I'm just
it's
really
also like
uncomfortable voting for conservatives. I'll put it out there.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
But
I mean,
I'm
the same way that
excited.
GOP, they do straight party ticket voting too.
But I'm excited that more independents and socialists and different groups are coming in to break up the two-party system.
Yeah.
And there's no longer a need, and it's probably.
Well, I would push back on that. I don't know if it's necessarily bad that we have a two-party system. I think there are a lot of problems with our two-party system, but honestly, most of the changes throughout the two-party system, like here in Allegheny County, most of the changes that I think are improving this system are coming from within the Democratic Party. It's coming from Summer Lee. It's coming from Bethany Hallam, who's going to be a county councilor, and so it's coming from within this system. And then what's interesting about Lisa Middleman is that my speculation would be if the Teron Jenkins, who ran in the Democratic primary against Zapala and lost, if he hadn't have ran, Lisa would have just ran as a Democrat and probably had a better chance to take down Zapala in the primary because you have less voters then. You basically only have Democrats voting for those candidates. And so in that same way but she decided, well, obviously she wasn't the candidate that time, but she obviously wanted to run, so she decided to launch an independent campaign, but is running as a progressive, has support from the Libertarian Party too, because Libertarian Party does support a lot of these criminal justice, initiatives. They align with progressives on those issues. But in that same way that it's like, that's kind of how it is, or in the same way that Mick Pappas, who's my magisterial judge in the East End, he was also thinking about running as a Democrat to take down the incumbent. He dropped that chance and then decided to run as an independent, and then was still able to beat the incumbent in there, but he's also a progressive. And so I think a lot of these people would identify themselves as Democrats, even though kind of like how Bernie Sanders is he's independent, but he's basically he's aligning himself with the Democrats. And but yes, but in terms of this election and in terms of really most elections, I really think straight party ticket voting is an issue because you're not doing your research. But at the same time, that's also very hard to do your research because sometimes there's no information about the candidates.
I would say too, on my defense, I hear that argument a lot. Like, how dare you vote for a straight party ticket? You're not doing your research. I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I do my research. I look, and my research tells me I should vote straight party.
But also, there's also so little information out there about a lot of these candidates, and there's so many offices in Pennsylvania. So you have judges. The
judges are the hardest for me.
Honestly,
I try to
for
take
judges,
notes.
Honestly, for judges, if you identify yourself as a liberal, or if you identify yourself as a conservative or a leftist, or if you're on the right, you're probably best off just voting for that party because there's. First of all, campaigning for judges, you can't really say, I'm going to do this. Judges are supposed to be impartial. So you kind of want somebody who is just understands the world that how you understand it.
Or if they're already on the seat, you can look at what they've done in the past. But
there's not that much information out there on that. Like Amanda Green Hawkins is running for Superior Judge. She was a county councilor. She was a Democrat, so she is a Democrat. And that's basically the only person I know anything about, but that's only because me as a journalist covered county council meetings. So most people don't know who she is, and that's totally fine. And so it is a really interesting thing. I would say in this race specifically, there is a lot of information out there about these independent candidates, and do your research. In this race specifically, I don't say that's always the case. If just listen to journalists, I guess. We're the ones that are paid to do this, to think about this stuff and to do this stuff. And so there are a ton of independent candidates. And
Pick up an election guide.
Yeah, and by doing your
really
research,
good election guide is going to come out next Wednesday.
The very best election guide in Pittsburgh.
But I will also say to the listeners, that we can't cover every race, and we get a lot of complaints about that. They go, "Why didn't you do this race? Why didn't you do this race?" because there's so many races. There are 100 municipalities in Allegheny County. Each of them have races this election. So I'm sorry, we're not going to cover Bellevue Council, even though Bellevue is great. Like
what do you recommend for somebody who wants to learn more about a race that we're not covering?
League of Women Voters do like some pretty good stuff, so reach out to them. And a lot of this sometimes it's like hard to find their stuff online because this is a problem with Google as well. A lot of these candidates that me and my intern are writing about have websites, but because they're not popular, obviously, because they're just running for some city council race and they're not a Democrat and they're not like endorsed or anything like that, Google Analytics does not push their stuff to the top. You can type in Denise Welch for city council, and her URL is not that. And maybe that was a decision on her part or a wrong decision on her part, but at the same time, that will not come up. So really the best way to find it is Facebook is a really good way. Make sure to include for something. So like Denise Welch for city council, that's a good way. That might lead you to her page, which might have a website. But again, this is like really, you have to be an expert Googler, basically, which I think are journalists, are librarians, like these kind of people that are trained to do this stuff, like researchers, you know?
Can I change your title in the staff box to expert Googler?
and so, yeah, but so that's what's really hard about it. And so I totally understand we can't do everything. Reach out to League of Women Voters does a lot of good stuff. You can go on the Allegheny County website. Usually they'll have sample ballots and then you could Google from there. But again, a lot of this stuff is really hard. A lot of times you have to wait for the person, if they're a good candidate, to come canvass and to tell you about them. And this is also a problem with the decline in local newspapers. You know, if we had more community newspapers, that's specifically what they could be writing about, right? Northside Chronicle did a nice thing on the District 1 race because that's specifically their area, you know? Like, whereas we cover the whole county. So it's going to be really hard for us to go like, oh, let's do this race. Let's do this Monroeville mayor's race, you know?
And
because
it's not important. We just
I mean, it might be important, but I haven't gotten any tips that it's important. I haven't done these things. So we as a staff decide what to cover, what's the biggest race, what's the most competitive race, because there are important races, but not all of them are going to be competitive. It's likely the incumbent's going to win easily. So we're not going to waste our energy and time doing that, except for the biggest races. Like we included the county executive race. And that was also because we got a request in the primary that says, please do the county executive race. And so like, okay, we'll do it then. And
so you listen to our readers?
Yes, of course. Yeah, try to, some of them.
Okay, let me give you a break from getting all heated.
No,
I have 10 words.
It's not very hard.
I'm gonna list you 10 words quickly, and you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Jeez.
You ready?
Probably not, but.
Fracking.
Bad.
USA.
Good.
Beer.
Oh, really good.
Ryan. Yeah. Beer. Take two.
Thirsty.
Donald Trump.
Bad.
I didn't say.
Sorry, liar.
Bike lanes.
Saviors.
Socialist.
I'm thinking.
Quick.
Oh, quick. Good.
Millennials.
Oh, great. The best.
Oh,
best
Jesus.
generation in American history.
Conor Lamb.
Hot.
Minimum wage.
Way too low.
Hot dogs.
Not sandwiches.
Governor Wolf is on my side. They are sandwiches.
Yeah, he also thinks candy corn is the best candy in the world. So obviously his food opinions are really bad. Sorry, Governor. Your food opinions suck.
Hannah Lynn loves candy corn.
No, she doesn't love candy corn. She tolerates candy corn. She is like, oh no, it's I'll eat it. Governor Wolf said his favorite candy is candy corn. Like, seriously, let's break that down. Like, what's your favorite candy? What's your favorite candy? Gummies. Like sour gummies, like gummy bears, any kind of gummies.
I really like gummy worms.
Okay.
I like to put like 3 in my mouth.
Yes. Yeah. I love like fruity Tootsie Rolls.
Yes.
Which is weird, and I'll own it. But Fruity Tootsie Rolls are demonstrably better than candy corn.
I bring in these huge bags of mixed candy that have like Tootsie Roll varieties and Tootsie Pops, and I dig out the little like pastel colors for Ryan. Here are your fruity.
Jordan also really likes
does,
the Fruity Tootsie Rolls, so we both love them. So.
Now,
but I feel like I feel like there's so many favorite candies you can have, like Snickers, Kit Kats, like dark chocolate, like these kind of things.
There are very few candies I don't like. Candy corn's one of them. I think way more than that. Oh no, Smarties are good. I think my worst candy is the Carnival peanuts.
Oh
like
yeah, those are
things.
Also terrible. Yes, my father-in-law loves those.
Oh.
But he also doesn't really have good teeth, so I think that's why he likes them.
One thing you were really excited to tell me about yesterday was that the Clark bar is coming back.
Clark bar's coming back, guys. Did you hear that?
But are they going to be made in Pittsburgh?
No, they're in Altoona.
So
they got bought out by the Mallow Cup company, the
Bayer,
right? Or Boyer, I think, candy company, I think they're called.
Team Mallow Cup.
Yeah, Mallow Cup, Smoothie Cups. What else they got?
Mallow Cups are better.
Yeah, dark Mallow Cups.
So I want to go back to the district attorney's race for a second because I put out a request on Twitter to see if anyone had questions for Ryan. Ryan had tweeted out early in the morning on Wednesday when he went into the convention center before he was not allowed back in, and he spotted somebody in the crowd.
Oh, yeah. I saw district attorney's campaign manager. Oh, excuse me. That was a really ill-timed burp. The campaign manager for District Attorney Steven Zappala, his son is his campaign manager. His son is also named Steve, or he goes by Stevie, I believe.
Let's just call him Stevie.
Yeah, Stevie, that's easy. That's what he goes by. So Stevie Zappala was in the crowd or at the convention center during or before Trump was to arrive with his now confirmed girlfriend, Anissa Curry, who is the chair of a group called the Young Republicans of Allegheny County. Whether or not it's confusing how affiliated it is with the Republican Party, because I've gotten some requests about that, but it is, or it was, and so she's a Republican, and so she was at this conference supporting fracking, and again, tangentially supporting the president, because why else would you be at this thing if you're not a reporter, just covering it from trying to inform people about it. So
Stevie was with her.
I saw him. I tweeted about it. I didn't take a picture because I thought it would be weird and uncomfortable, but then Stevie ended up quote tweeting me and basically confirming that he was there.
And what did he say?
He said, breaking, boyfriend likes to spend time with his girlfriend. And I'm like, that's, there's obviously there's no problem with him having a girlfriend. But if you are the campaign manager of the Democrat, Steven Zappala, and your Democratic committee has already explicitly put out statements basically saying we don't support Trump and we think his presence in Pittsburgh, we're going to criticize it, which the Dem committee did through Vice Chair Austin Davis, State Rep Austin Davis. They're criticizing his presence, and yet your campaign manager is at that event.
And boyfriend and girlfriends, partners are allowed to have different political views.
Yes, James Carville, right. Wife is Republican, and that's not a problem. But it's a problem through optics, because the optics of that is that I'm okay with President Trump. And so I wrote a story about earlier how there were a lot of members of the Democratic committee in Allegheny County. These are elected members. These are appointed members. They are part of the party, basically. They help get Democrats elected. A lot of them have been bucking the party, and they don't want to support Zappala, even though he is the endorsed and nominated Democrat. They want to support Middleman. They believe that Middleman more aligns with their values as liberals and as leftists, and as progressives. And so this is what makes the story even more interesting, because there's already a good amount of people. I just got another tip about this, by the way, and I'm hoping I'll follow up on, that these people these Democratic officials, basically, they don't want to support Zappala. And one of the reasons is they don't think he's being like a Democrat. But because of the bylaws written into the Democratic Party system, they have to support Zapala because he's the nominated Democrat. That's your job, right? That makes sense in terms of the bylaws. I totally get that. But, it's also, just like anything else, people break the rules all the time, and they don't want to do this anymore. And then at the same time that this kind of little controversy is happening within this, political party, you have the campaign manager of the Democrat who had been out campaigning with the Democratic Party. There are photos of it, which I shared in a tweet thread. He is at a Republican Party event. Mike Turzai spoke at that event, who is the Republican Speaker of the House in Pennsylvania. Trump is at that event. Trump railed Democrats in that event. He literally insulted all of them, especially someone like Conor Lamb, who you would think he is a more moderate Democrat. So it's just, it's insane. It's crazy to me.
Tim on Twitter asked if Zapala and/or his campaign have put out any statements about Trump's visit to Pittsburgh.
I reached out to the Democratic committee. I asked for a statement. I haven't gotten a response. I haven't reached out to the campaign, but I will. Following up, probably write something next week about this. And I will be reaching out to Zapala's campaign to have a statement. I kind of already have a statement because Stevie Zapala already did a statement, but I will reach out for a further statement to see if they have something. I don't expect one back. Yes, I will, and I'll be getting hopefully some other juicy information. I believe Bethany Halam, who's a committee member, already tweeted about this, saying it was hypocritical. So that'll be a nice follow-up story to the Democratic committee drama involving Stephen Zapala.
Speaking of partners who have different political views, that would be my parents. My mom was always agnostic liberal in a very small town. My father was always a conservative Republican. Happiest couple I've ever known.
Yeah.
Life goals.
Man, I could never do that.
They made it work over the years.
Yeah.
But my mother would never have gone to a Republican event with him and put her support. So that's where I see the difference.
Yes, exactly. That is the difference. It's totally okay to that's your partner, but it's why are you there?
Right.
Especially in the middle of a campaign.
Right.
It's the middle of a campaign. The election is a couple weeks away.
But I wanna add that because of Trump, my father changed parties and he's now a Democrat. Because he was so
in
after
Pennsylvania?
A lifetime in Pennsylvania.
Get the Washington Post to go interview your dad at a diner or something, right?
Juniata County.
Hey,
go find him.
That's deep red, folks, by the way.
It is. Yeah, it really, really is. My mom has struggled with that over
Get
the
him
years.
over
Not
there.
with my father,
Ooh,
but with other people in the community. Yeah.
Sorry, those stories are so dumb.
But there are little resist groups building in these small
everywhere
towns.
there are.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's so funny about a lot of those Trump diner, Trump country stories. One, a lot of the people they talk to end up surprisingly being Republican Party members. Two, there are little resist groups in those areas. There are. I have followers that are from the middle of the state, that are from more conservative areas that say that they're not. Of course, just as there are Trump supporters in my neighborhood. I know there are.
They show up.
Not everybody. Obviously, the percentages are different, but
on the North Side neighborhood Facebook page.
Or if you go to Morningside, there's a Trump flag in Morningside. You drive by it on whatever the road that goes through that neighborhood is called. I mean, that's just how it always is. There's obviously in Juniata County, there's always going to be a lot higher percentage of Trump supporters than there are, Democrats or liberal supporters. And then in Pittsburgh, it's the other way around, where I have a lot more liberals compared to conservatives. Sorry, I got hiccups. But
do you have the hiccups?
I do.
That was always the trick. My friend Julie Skidmore. Anytime I have the hiccups, she would ask me, "Do you have the hiccups?" And they would automatically go away.
Wow.
Do you still have the hiccups?
No, they're gone.
See, it works.
Well, that wasn't why, but
that's why.
Oh, sorry. That's good. I did have them. I think I backed away a little bit.
Are you just burping again and blaming it on hiccups?
Yeah, probably. All right. What else? What else we got? Did we get any other requests? I know Tim gave us requests. Which is always, Tim, you're the best if you're listening.
Yeah. We got a request to do a live frack check. I had this after I got that this morning. I had this brilliant idea that I was going to search Trump's yours and Conor Lamb's Twitter feeds and get quotes about fracking. So I was like tweeting in fracking, fracked, and I was gonna read them to you and have you guess who said it.
I see.
Conor Lamb has not tweeted anything about it, so
The thing
that
is that,
blew
well,
it.
it's the word fracking, right? So like.
Well, no, I did natural gas.
Oh,
I did,
you did, yeah. Oh,
Trump's is
interesting.
long. I did Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Conor Lamb's never.
Conor
didn't
Lamb
show
mostly
up with
tweets
that,
about
yeah.
like events
He doesn't.
shows
He doesn't
up
tweet
to.
a lot.
He does not tweet that much now.
Pittsburgh. Trump
and then when he gets
showed
pressured to like be like, hey, how do you feel about impeachment? Then he'll. He's a very reserved tweeter. You know, unlike like Senator Casey or unlike me.
Follow Ryan on Twitter.
Act more like me, Connor.
But also
Get those
follow.
spicy takes.
Wait, follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. But
It
not as
drives
much as
me
me.
crazy how Ryan throws it in my face that he has way more followers than he does. Than I do. Whatever. It's very annoying.
Yeah.
I'm also a brilliant tweeter. Come on.
Yeah, you're good.
I just
but
don't tweet
not-
as much
not quite
about
as
politics.
Good as me. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
people want. That's what they want.
They do. And I appreciate your political tweets. I appreciate the thread, so if I don't want to read it, I don't have to see all of them. So yeah.
Right.
So what are you doing this weekend?
I am nerfing, chilling. Stuff's got to work, so probably just gonna be catching up on sleep. Probably writing my park story.
Ryan, that was due today, by the way.
Well, I can still get it in.
Let's
700
do your
words,
election
right?
charts.
Yeah,
first.
I can get the middleman chart. It's already mostly ready. Anyway.
I'm pretty excited. I got tickets to the Riverhounds game on Saturday.
Playoffs.
Our soccer team is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
I think they were the number 1 seed too.
yeah, they won the Eastern Championship,
which is crazy
pretty
because a couple of
exciting.
years ago they were bad, and now they're good.
They're really good.
Yeah,
It's
we have
very
a really
exciting.
good soccer team. Unlike
Though-
our Pirates, unlike our
Yeah.
Steelers right now.
Pens are pretty good.
Yeah, Pens are pretty good, and they still got obviously they got Malkin and they got
Malkin's injured,
his
so
name?
he's been out for a while.
Crosby.
He's got Crosby.
That's right. Oh, I was in Canada. Crosby's everywhere up there. Like, I mean,
You mean literal Crosby? Just
no,
sitting
just
in
like he's in ads for like everything.
Oh,
He's
like
in
what
ads,
kind of ads?
like fast food ads, like I feel maybe like lottery ads. Like,
that
well, he's
would
Canadian,
be a good
right?
online story. Can
Yeah.
you find some of them and share it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good
Alex
story.
is nodding
actually.
his head.
Sorry.
Isn't it weird that he's our age and he's done so much more?
It's crazy.
How old is he?
Our age, 32. Yeah. Well, has he done so much more? He's just a lot better at what he does. You know, it's not. I mean, has he written stories about Democratic committee? I don't think so.
Has he ever done a frack check?
Yeah. Does he know
come
about
on.
earthquakes? I don't think so.
Can I call you Ryan the Kid since they call him Sid the Kid?
Sure.
Because it drives me crazy because he's no longer a kid.
Yeah, but he's got a baby face.
Well, maybe
That makes sense.
I could say
His
that you
nickname
do
makes
too.
sense. Yeah, I
Ryan
do.
the Kid.
Yeah.
Lion Ryan Deto.
That's right, Lion
Dito.
Ryan. Liberal
Hackety
jabroni.
hack.
Jabroni. Let's talk about jabroni, the word jabroni, a little bit more. What is that? What kind of insult is that? Is it like, I thought it was like Italian American, but it's like, is it not? Or is it just like a general like insult?
Mark Madden, are
I'm
you
not
listening?
Italian, by the way. Just my name kind of sounds Italian, but it's not. It's a made up name. It was French. Now it's made up. Deto. So it's one of those American like anglicized names, I guess. It's very unique. Deto's. If you're Deto, you are almost definitely related to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you're white Deto.
What
Except
about
my
the-
sister, who's adopted and is also related to me. Who's not white.
Does she still have the last name
She
Dito, or is she
still
married?
still got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully she'll keep it.
Is she listening?
No.
Give her a shout out.
No, Jess, what's up?
Hi, Jess. I went to Mark Madden's feed to see if there's any interesting that I could share, and there's not.
I thought you were gonna Google what jabroni, what the
no, I didn't.
etymology of
No.
jabroni is. Alex, can you get on that, please?
I think it's funny that whenever I invited Ryan to join me today, he's like, "Let's just make it a half hour. Come on, I got election charts to do."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're
well, he's
almost
like,
done,
"We
right?
can't talk. We can't talk for an hour."
Oh,
Ryan can always
I
talk.
could easily talk. It's just about, you also want me to get my
What-
deadlines
What
in.
are
So.
the things called that go around the ice hockey thing? Or those-
Zambonis.
Okay, that's what I think of when I hear jabroni. I think Zamboni.
Well,
Alex,
this is just one theory. I really should have had a mic. I'm sorry.
that's okay.
But,
I'll just
Dwayne the Rock Johnson
Yeah.
says that
The Rock.
it's derived from jobber, which is a wrestling term.
Oh, jobber. Okay.
Jobber.
Yeah.
What does jobber mean?
It's one who loses to make other wrestlers look good.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. A jobber is somebody, is a wrestler who loses on purpose to make his opponent look good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the Washington Generals.
Like the Washington Generals in the Harlem Globetrotters situation. They're perennial jobbers, right? I think they've won one game, right?
I'm just going to
Must
call
have
you
been
as
the worst Harlem Globetrotters experience the one time the Generals win. They'd be like, oh, I want my money back. Wait, okay, so that's it, just jobber.
And I think it's what you said. It sounds Italian, but I don't think it really is.
Okay.
And it's just really fun to say.
So basically, but Mark Madden has a wrestling background, right? A big pro wrestling background. So basically what he's saying is that I'm a jobber and that I actually am helping him. In fact, he was the jobber because in retweeting our story, we got thousands of clicks. Thanks, Mark.
Stop. I think we're about wrapping this up. Joining me today was the hackety hack Ryan the Kid Zamboni.
Jobber.
So before I end, I want to just make a note that this Sunday marks the 1 year since the Tree of Life Synagogue tragedy.
Yeah.
And I just want to let everyone know that you're in our thoughts, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, that's it. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. Jobber.
Zamboni.